images and profiles.com. I found this article on that website. Images and Profiles, Jamaica's premier lifestyle and entertainment magazine. Okay, here we recently learned that the US had ordered that 3 Jamaican diplomats not have their diplomatic visas be renewed and return to Jamaica from the US after they expire. This was after Jamaica refused to grant diplomatic immunity and privileges to the same-sex spouse of a Jamaican diplomat. Now, here's information that's revealed on images and profiles. Here we see former diplomat Donald Tapia. Let me read this. It was widely held that former ambassador to Jamaica, businessman Donald Tapia, was considered a member of the LGBT community. Now here we can see who is involved. Former ambassador Donald Tapia wanted his husband to enjoy diplomatic immunity and privileges, and Jamaica refused because such unions are not legal in Jamaica. Here we have US Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, how does she come into the picture? Let's see. The rift. By the way, let me start here. It has been known for quite some time now that all was not well diplomatically between the Andrew Holness-led JLP administration and the Biden-led Democratic administration in the US. For months now, diplomatic observers have been commenting on the growing rift between the Holness administration and the Biden presidency. That rift broke out in the open recently when the US Vice President, who has some Jamaican ancestry, refused to meet with Prime Minister Andrew Holness when they both visited the Bahamas a few weeks ago. Not only did the Vice President flatly refuse to meet with Holness, diplomatic observers pointed out at the time that there was no joint communique and that the visit was so skillfully managed. Not one single photo of the Prime Minister and the US Vice President was allowed. Well, no. Now, later in this article, let me read. Some sources say after Holness was snubbed in the Bahamas by Vice President Harris, he flew to Washington and met with his ambassador, and instructed her to lobby friendly forces in Congress to secure a high-level meeting to discuss what was clearly the growing impasse. To date, no such meeting was arranged, and things took a turn for the worse last week. It says last week. When was this published? Can't find a date on this article. But it says things took a turn for the worse last week when Prime Minister Holness was traveling to Brussels via Miami. He was not met by any officer from the US Secret Service and was made to suffer the indignity of having to remove his belt, shoes, and other items of his ensemble. to clear metal detectors and security. Well, is it an indignity? Well, everybody else has to go through that so-called indignity. But anyway, probably heads of state would be treated differently from most other persons. So they consider it as an indignity. But it's an interesting read. The last part of this article says, one commentator parting shot. Well, I guess it should be one commentator's parting shot was, no, the Jamaican people can expect the PM and his spin doctors to turn this into a campaign rally cry. Really? Accusing the Americans of trying to force the country to legalize same-sex marriages. But isn't that obvious? The country waits with bated breath. Very interesting.